You won't believe what hides beneath the snow and ice. Massive machines built by armies just to dominate frozen wastelands. Today, we're diving into 10 insane military snow machines you've probably never even heard of. These are beasts that defy logic. Tracked monsters, propeller sleds, articulated carriers, you name it. Each one has a story, a purpose, and quirks that will shock you. Stick around because the next one is always crazier than the one before. Imagine this: a convoy crawling across Arctic ice, temperatures below 50°C, winds howling. Normal vehicles fail, their engines stall, tires spin uselessly. But these machines, they laugh in the face of winter. They carve trails, haul loads, push through drifts, and sometimes do things no one thought possible. Let's go travel time and space. Back in World War II, the US developed a tracked vehicle called the M29 Weasel. It looked small, almost toy-like, but it was built for war in snow and marsh. It was light, had wide tracks, and could go where trucks simply couldn't. It was originally intended to help in Norway, but the mission shifted. It ended up being used in Europe, in the Ardennes, in muddy battlefields, and even on islands. Soldiers found it useful to carry supplies across broken ground, snow, or marsh that bogged down bigger vehicles. It was even amphibious in some versions. After the war, many ended up in civilian hands in cold regions. That's one. But then skip ahead to Canada. Enter the D900 multi-fuel military snowmobile. This is not your everyday sled. It's a heavy-duty machine built for long-range Arctic patrols. It runs on diesel or common military fuels, hauls big loads, and can travel more than 500 kilometers on one tank. It was designed so soldiers and rangers could cross vast frozen distances in remote areas. But things get wilder with aerosleds, or aerosani in Russian. Picture a propeller at the back, skis underfoot, and a crew sliding over frozen lakes. These sleds were used by Soviet forces during the Winter War and throughout WA2 in snowbound regions. Because conventional vehicles fail on deep snow or ice, these aerial-propelled sleds filled a gap. They were fast on smooth frozen surfaces. Some were lightly armored, even mounting machine guns. Their weakness? Climbing hills or turning through forests, they weren't great there. But in the open, they were insane. If that's not extreme enough, meet the Antarctic Snow Cruiser, built in 1939. This was supposed to be the ultimate frozen vehicle. Massive wheels, diesel-electric drive, heated cabins, carrying supplies, even housing a small airplane. The idea was you could drive it across Antarctic ice and survive in it. But it was a flop. Its smooth tires had zero grip on snow and ice. It sank, got stuck, and was eventually abandoned. Years later, it was rediscovered buried under snow, then lost again. It's probably sitting somewhere under Antarctic ice now. Now shift your eyes to Russia. In fact, the Soviet Union's answer to extreme transport. The Vityaz family of articulated tracked carriers like the DT-10, DT-20, DT-30. These behemoths are designed for terrain no vehicle dares to tread: deep snow, swamps, permafrost. They consist of 2, sometimes more, connected tracked modules, each with power and tracks, that articulate or bend when needed. They carry heavy loads, tow other vehicles, even supply remote bases. Their ground pressure is low, so they don't sink easily. In some cases, they can even move when parts fail. They're still in use today in Russian Arctic operations. Let me slow things down a bit. The M7 snow tractor is a half-track vehicle built in the US during World War II. It was designed for rescue and support in cold northern bases. It used standard parts from farm tractors and Jeep powertrains to make repairs easier. Interestingly, its track was built on rubber belts weaving steel cables. It could tow trailers, switch its wheels for skis in some setups, and was vital for airbase operations in snowy zones. We've talked about sleds, tractors, carriers, but what about modern stealthy machines? Enter Polaris's military snowmobiles, the 2025 Military 650 Titan 155 and 2025 Military 850 PRO RMK 155. These are based on civilian sleds but modified with blackout lighting for stealth. Heavy-duty frames, cargo capability, and special features for military use. They're being pushed to support Arctic operations where speed and mobility matter most. And lately, the Lynx Brutal Over Snow Reconnaissance Vehicle, OSRV, has caught attention. The UK Royal Marines just ordered 159 of them to boost their Arctic mobility. These sleds are optimized for deep snow, strong suspension, and heavy loads. In reconnaissance and raiding roles, they let troops move fast, quietly, behind enemy lines. The investment is serious, and they're being deployed now. We can't ignore BAE, Hägglund's cold weather all-terrain vehicle, CATV, BVS-10 kind of lineage. It's meant to push through extreme snow where even tracked vehicles struggle. It supports infantry doing operations in frozen landscapes. Military writers call it Old Man Winter's worst enemy. It combines tracks, mobility, and stability to move troops and gear in places others get stuck. That's 8 so far. We still need 2 more, but I'll cover them in the next part. And trust me, the next ones are downright bizarre. You're going to see designs that sound like sci-fi but are real. Remember, these machines didn't exist for fun. They were built because in war, snow is an enemy just like bullets. If your supply lines freeze, your tanks stop, your soldiers die. So these machines were weapons too. Mobility in impossible places. Which of the ones you've heard so far seems the wildest to you? In part 2, we'll meet the final 2. Ones that push the limits of design and engineering. Stick around. You won't want to miss it. Narrative perspective. I use second person, you, so the viewer feels directly addressed. The script is conversational and storytelling, with small surprises and you won't believe moments. Storytelling devices. Hooks start with shocking claim. Curiosity gaps. You'll see things you've never seen. Comparisons, normal vehicle versus beast. Cliffhangers, saving 2 weird ones for later. Transitions, the next one is crazier. Blending fact and narrative. Now imagine sitting inside one of these monsters. The outside world is a white blur, snow hammering the glass, wind howling like a jet engine. But inside you're warm, insulated, surrounded by steel and humming engines. These machines were lifelines in places where no man could survive alone. Every bolt, every track link, every heater vent was designed for survival. The thing most people forget is how much testing went into them. Engineers spent months freezing engines, pouring diesel in sub-zero labs, and running vehicles until metal cracked just to find what worked. It wasn't about comfort. It was about keeping soldiers alive when even compasses failed in magnetic storms. And when you see those black and white photos of Weasels or M7s grinding through white wastelands, you realize they weren't just vehicles. They were tiny, moving shelters in a frozen hell. What's even crazier is that some of these old designs inspired modern expedition vehicles. The Antarctic Snow Cruiser, for example, looked like a disaster, but its idea of self-contained exploration eventually shaped modern Antarctic rovers and even concepts for lunar crawlers. Yeah, you heard that right. A failed snow machine helped inspire moon vehicles. The line between science fiction and military survival has always been thin. And speaking of evolution, think about how the Soviets took those fragile early Aerosleds and turned them into monsters that could patrol the Siberian tundra at 50 miles per hour. Propellers roaring, ice spraying behind them, crews bundled up like astronauts. These things looked like floating UFOs from another era. Some locals who saw them for the first time literally thought they were alien craft. That's how wild they looked against the empty snow. The truth is, snow machines like these changed warfare in the cold. They allowed patrols to reach radar stations in the Arctic, rescue pilots, and supply outposts no one could reach otherwise. Without them, entire operations would have frozen into history. That's why militaries still spend millions developing better versions today, because in the far north, technology isn't about luxury, it's about survival. But just wait. What's coming next is so bizarre it feels like it rolled straight out of a movie set. One of the next machines didn't just travel on snow, it flew across it. And another? It was powered by a jet engine. Yeah, seriously. You're not going to believe these ones.